It's your boy Golden Mouse back at it again, here for chapter 294 of My Hero Academia. Before we jump into the review, I got a quick little thing I want to talk to you guys about. Number one, as you can see, got a little something going in the background there. Got a dresser for storage. Got my boy All Might and the good Dobby up there. You has presented Dobby a sock. Dobby is free. That one, not the "oh no, Daddy was mean to me" one. No, not that one. So, not just straight up Bear Murder Shack anymore. Good news, moving on up in the world. Next thing I want to talk to you guys about, I am starting a new series. We're going to be doing every Wednesday. I'm going to drop a video in my new character development series. I'll be taking a character from anime or manga, not just from My Hero Academia, but from all anime and manga, anything that I'm interested in, or if you guys have a particular character that you're interested in. Basically, I'm just going to delve into them, take a look at what makes them tick, who they are, where they came from, what makes up their character, and how it developed. Yeah, I'm a thinker. That first video, like I said, going to drop this Wednesday. It is going to be all about Endeavor. A lot of people are split on him. A lot of people love him. A lot of people hate him. I just want to talk about him. There's a lot to talk about there, a lot to unpack, and we're going to get into that on Wednesday. So please subscribe so you can get notified for that. Also, you can check me out on Instagram. I'll be dropping little updates there and all around anime and manga memery. I'll be dropping those as well. That being said, let's pop right into the review of chapter 294 of My Hero Academia. This chapter is told from 2 points of view. We start out in Best Jeanist point of view. He's basically telling the first half of the chapter, and then it switches over to the villain side. We're going to get to see from Mr. Compress, a character that we don't really hear from a lot. The times that we do hear from him, usually just small stuff. Super useful quirk, or super OP quirk, and honestly, in my opinion, like, Compress could beat All Might easily. He just touch him. He's got to touch him. I'm sorry. I think too OP, in my opinion. But starting out at the beginning of the chapter, we start out from Best Jeanist point of view. Basically, the whole first page is just a rundown of everybody up to this point who has been injured or has passed. We start out seeing Crust, who got decayed back in the lab. We see Mirko, Eraserhead, Gran Torino. Basically everybody who's fought up to this point and got injured, they're now all getting medical attention by emergency services. So super glad that finally we've got some medical assistance on the scene there. Jeanist goes in to talk about how they got to where they are today, how there was no coincidence that all of a sudden Gigantomachia just happened to pass out here. It was everybody who worked together, everybody who gave every ounce of their sweat, blood, and tears to get them here. Jeanist is now going to turn the tides. Everybody gave their all. Jeanist is going to give his all. They're going to take it out. They're going to finish this battle. W for the heroes. Now that he's no longer having to restrain Gigantomachia, he is now going to begin using his fibers to restrain the other villains. He can now devote more of his time, more of his effort to getting the other people. As you know, with his quirk, it is not infinite. He can only he can control fiber, anything with it, but he only has access to the fiber that's around him. Most of the time he uses his own costume. He can also use the clothing of others, but there's only so much around. Now that he's no longer devoting such a large amount to cover the monster that is Gigantomachia, he can now use it to restrain the other villains, which he does immediately. Locks up Shigaraki, Compress, and Spinner. And I am going to post this on here because you see a hilarious photo of Spinner being choked out. And I know that Horikoshi put this in here knowing that we would find it hilarious, because look at this dude's face. Look at it. I mean, I've never seen a lizard choke before. He's an iguana? He's an iguana. We're going to call him an iguana. I've never seen an iguana choke before. That's hilarious. I'm sorry. Eyes bugging out. That's funny. And not in a morbid way. That's just funny. That's a funny photo. Good on you, Horikoshi. Good on you. But yeah, Jeanist trying to choke him out. They pass out. Easy peasy. It's game over. Everybody wins. Everybody goes home. Everybody's happy. Except Compress is not a fan of that. He is not about it. He wants to stop it. But unfortunately, his hands are literally tied. Can't move, trapped against him, can't touch the ropes to capsulate them, to compress them. So he's stuck in the position he's in, and this is where it switches over to his point of view. Shigaraki, he and Spinner are all trapped. Compress begins to reminisce over his time with the league, basically everything that has not yet been achieved that they set out for. Everybody had their own goals, things that they had set forth to accomplish, and none of them had accomplished it yet. But here they were about to lose. It was all about to come crashing down unless he did something. He mentions Toga, Dabi, Twice, Spinner, the whole gang, basically how without Shigaraki, and if they get stopped here, it's over. And he won't allow that. What happens next is Mr. Compress kind of takes a step back from his levity thing that he always did, the entertainer showmanship, the thing that he always does, and he gets serious. He realizes he's got to make a sacrifice. And the sacrifice he does as he uses his quirk on his hip and the side of his abdomen so that he can give himself some wiggle room. He literally takes a chunk out of his body so that he can move his arm. It is not something I expected, because at that point he's pretty much killing himself, barring some medical miracle or some sort of medical quirk, because you're taking out at least a kidney and part of your intestine right there. And it gets worse. So he does that. In doing so, frees his arm and is able to compress Shigaraki and Spinner in the little ball form. The thing is into a flashback. The text shows that someone from Mr. Compress's family begins speaking to him, talking about how their bloodline is set to fight injustice. And we find out that Mr. Compress is the great-great-grandson of Harima Oji, who was mentioned back in chapter 171 by the Gentle Criminal. He was compared to All for One and the original Destro, so he's the kind of company he's keeping that's kind of a big deal. We don't know much about him other than the fact that he was a thief. He was often compared to Robin Hood. He would steal from heroes who he thought were too rich and corrupt and then give that money to the poor. We don't know what his quirk was. That has not been revealed yet, but we can assume it was something similar to Mr. Compress, something that was going to be good for thieving, which obviously Mr. Compress's is. But it was a interesting touchback. I did not expect that. I completely forgot about the character myself. I was not expecting him to be brought back up. There was a way callback that he was only mentioned in passing. There hasn't really been much foundation set for him. But there was obviously a reason he was mentioned back then, and obviously a reason that it was brought up again now. I mean, it could just be world building on Horikoshi's side, or there could be a bit more to it. I don't know. I personally think there's going to be some kind of tie-in later. At this time in the anime, in the manga, we do not have any confirmation that Harima Oji is dead. Granted, he's Mr. Compress's great-great-grandfather. Mr. Compress is at least in his late 20s. So we're talking about an old dude here. But crazier things have happened. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens with that. It then flashes back to the present where Compress is able to compress Shigaraki and Spinner in the little ball form, gets them encapsulated, and makes a break for it. Unfortunately for him, Jeanist is not one to be caught off guard for long. He immediately uses the fibers in Compress's clothes to wrap him up again, and that's when Compress basically says, all right, I've gone this far, might as well go all the way, and begins just taking chunks at random out of his body and his clothing to break the fibers, signing his own death warrant. There's no way he's going to survive them. We get a nice scene basically where showing his robot arm. He has the mask off. You see his face finally. You finally get to see what he looks like. And he sets Spinner and Shigaraki free. Basically saying the Shigaraki's the key here. Get it done. So he calls it his first and final escape artist performance. So I think he knows that he's done here. And that's how it ends. That's how the chapter closes there. Based on all of that, it looks like Mr. Compress is done. Unless I was doing some thinking, do some pondering, as they say. Do you remember when, in the overhaul arc, Shigaraki and Mr. Compress took Overhaul's arms? Okay? Took his hands. Now that Shigaraki has, that was before Shigaraki underwent the experimentation to get All for One. If they worked Overhaul into All for One, then if Shigaraki wakes up, he can save Compress. That is the only way that he's going to live here that I can see. I don't believe that there's any other alternative here. If that's not the case, if he doesn't have if one of the quirks in All for One can't save him, then he's done. But I have a feeling, just a little inkling, that Shigaraki now has Overhaul, and if he does, he can just, Snell will not touches him. He didn't snap his fingers. He could touch him with one hand and snap with the other, if he wanted to. Flair for the dramatic, for Compress's sake, he's a dramatic guy. But he could do that if he wanted. That would be the only thing that I could think of that I would imagine out of my own brain that could save this. Solid chapter. We don't get to see a lot from our boys, except for you see Shoto get beaten by Dabi. Ugh. Dabi. 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 Ridiculous. Horikoshi, I don't like it. But whatever. Just means he's going to beat him better later. You get a small scene of Deku falling. So basically he's part of the injured, the beginning of the chapter, he's one of the injured that shows. We still have the Nomu problem. The Nomu are still rampaging. If Spinner manages to wake up Shigaraki, that's going to be a problem. I don't think the fight's going to continue. I think the fight's coming to a close. I think at this point it's going to be an escape thing. And even Compress does mention in his little inner monologue that the timing is not right. The heroes are not at their weakest yet. So they need to regroup, basically. So the way I see it playing out is in the next couple chapters, Shigaraki wakes up, they use the Nomu as some sort of diversion, and they hightail it out of there. I'm assuming using some sort, one of the one-for-all quirks. I don't know which one he's got. All for One had teleportation abilities. They had to use a sludge. I know Johnny was the little Nomu that had the ability to do it. I don't know if Shigaraki does as well. So we'll just have to see. Looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it. Things are looks like they're definitely coming to a close in this big battle. Like I said, can't wait for the consequences. Can't wait to see how this all shakes out. Who becomes what. But yeah, had a great time doing it. Had a great time shooting this video. Once again, if you enjoyed it, please like, drop a comment, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like, and subscribe. I want you guys to get notifications. I want you to know when I'm bringing new stuff out. I want to be able to update you guys accordingly. So please like, comment, subscribe. I love you guys. You're awesome. Check me out on Instagram, GoldenMouse7, just like on here. Yeah, don't forget Wednesday, first installment of character development. If you want more info about Endeavor, Mr. Enji Todoroki, then hit me up. Subscribe. I want to see you there. I want you to see what I'm doing. I want to show you. I love it. I love y'all. Adios.